The information provided in this podcast is alleged and based on our understanding and research at the time of recording. Some of the names have been changed to protect identities. We make every effort to ensure the accuracy of the information presented, but we cannot guarantee that all data is entirely accurate or complete. The opinions expressed herein are solely those of the hosts and contributors. Last season on e-LIES-abeth. It started with birthday cupcakes, and 45 million views later, Elizabeth Teckenbrock was America's newest viral struggling sweetheart.
I think that there's a reason that people are drawn to me. I am literally a ball of fun and love and joy.
In her short 30 years, Elizabeth Teckenbrock has lived a lot of lives.
Let's start with Liz telling me that she owned, I think, 6 ophthalmology facilities.
And then bam, she is married to Andrew. And I was like, where did this guy come from?
I want to say very strongly, the abuse was real. I lived in hell every single day.
What she does is she uses my communication with her against me. Anytime that there was an arranged time for her to spend time with, the children were blown off. She would not show up for them.
Not all, but most of what my ex-husband has put online is true. Things I have done, things I have said.
Elizabeth shared devastating news. She had cancer.
I had stage 1. It was exaggerated on the internet for sure.
And I had heard from other people that she was a scammer, and I was like, well, she seems really nice.
She paid for everyone's VIP tickets. I'm assuming with this money.
How much money is taken out of and how long?
From the neighborhood of $400,000 to $500,000.
$500,000.
In a matter of months, almost $1 million gone.
But she owes 2 months of rent, and there's a lot of damage in the property.
Elizabeth, your rent for March is still past due, and April will be due next week. If we don't get what is owed in full by tomorrow, you and your husband will be served legal notices.
From August, her little gala that she was collecting money for did not happen.
I am taking accountability. I cannot get online and say every detail of everything you want me to. It is not what is best for my kids in the future.
Take real responsibility and apologize to the people you actually hurt. Let's get off the internet, get a real job, and get help.
I think that she was overly confident, thinking that nobody would ever put it together. And we did. Chef's kiss.
When we left off last season, Elizabeth Teckenbrock's web of lies finally started to unravel, and the people who once defended her started asking questions. The curated facade of a devoted mother fighting for her children against her evil ex-husband was exposed for what it really was, a calculated performance that she has used to not just garner sympathy from followers, but to con upwards of $3 million from victims over the years. In the fallout, Elizabeth vanished from social media. For a moment, it looked like accountability might have caught up to her. But we knew far too well by now that silence for Elizabeth has never meant remorse. It's rebranding. She reemerged weeks later under a new identity, the mental health girly. She told followers she was getting help, checking herself into a treatment facility, and beginning her journey of healing. We suspected she didn't actually attend because her timelines and breakdown of the treatment didn't add up, but we didn't have proof. Since then, we have talked to the person that Liz was closest to during this time. This person and Elizabeth happened to even share locations with one another, and based on her coordinates at most, Elizabeth made it to orientation, long enough to film herself walking through the doors for social media, and then left before lunch. You'll hear a lot more from this person in future episodes. What I will say is it's somebody who people who used to and still do support Liz have wanted to hear from, and I don't think anybody is prepared for her story. We certainly weren't. After the mental health treatment claims, it took no time to jump back into the pattern. Daily live streams where she got ready to go out every single night of the week, veiled threats that she was going to expose everybody in her life for all the wrongs they have done. We know this all too well from last season. Deny, deflect, and defend. Since last season, she's resurfaced and disappeared more times than anyone can keep track of. This is the cycle of Liz. She follows a pattern, one so consistent it's now predictable. As each new victim story comes out, especially since season 1, it's been, for lack of a better word, fascinating to see how she operates in real time. It answers a lot of questions many of us have had about how people believe her and continue to get scammed. And we will be getting into that in detail in this episode. That's right, with all the lies on Elizabeth, she has continued to scam more victims. And they all seem to have a similar introductory story. Most of her victims don't even know about her past when they meet her. They don't know about the cupcakes, the cancer, the trail of lies, families, and friendships that were decimated before them. In fact, some of the new victims we have spoken to said that it was Elizabeth herself that told them of her virality. She gets ahead of the story by saying her ex-husband is obsessed and that he's running a smear campaign and strangers online are attacking her for no reason. She might even run with the cancer confession, that she had to lie about it because of Andrew. By now, we know those are lies. They started long before Andrew and they're still ongoing. But for those who don't know, the half-truths ensure that if any new victim comes across Andrew's lives, this podcast, or any other negative post about her, they're already conditioned to dismiss it. It's only a matter of time, though, until the cracks start to show through, and once the stories stop lining up, once the reality doesn't match the claims, the illusion breaks. When her victims finally figured out they got Teckenbrocked, as I like to call it, they want to ensure others don't meet the same fate. They speak up and try to warn others. In today's world, it usually happens on social media. Just a tip for any future or past victims who haven't done so yet, it should also be documented with the FBI and Tampa Police Department. Just say her name, they will know who you are talking about. The moment a new victim's story starts to gain traction online, Elizabeth disappears. Not to reflect, not to take accountability, but to regroup. Then, a week or two later, she returns. This is the partial confession phase. She'll say something like, some of what they said is true, but most of it isn't. She'll promise to tell her side and threaten to expose everyone who's crossed her, but she never does. Instead, she pivots into justification and being a victim herself. She blames trauma, she blames her past, she blames mental health, and claims she's going to get help. We've even had her reach out to us, implying she's finally ready to take accountability and explain everything and tell the truth. And for a moment, it feels like maybe this time will be different. But then, like clockwork, the next phase. Crash out revenge Liz. She goes on the attack and threatens lawsuits to anybody trying to share their own experiences. This is something that has seemed to work for her because often when people hear cease and desist, they don't want to deal with it and they do back off. But like we have said many times, it's not defamation if it's true. And then after a month or so, the entire cycle begins again. Over and over, the same script, the same timing, the same outcome. None of the breaks have ever been to reflect or make things right, but to lay low and avoid the heat when new victims come forward. And one of those victims is Demi. Demi met Elizabeth after the cancer story had been exposed, after the internet knew her name, and even after the first season of e-LIES-abeth wrapped up. Lucky for Liz, though, she knew nothing about her. It was Elizabeth herself who gave her the heads up that in, the words of Ron Burgundy, people know me.
So August 19th, I was on the boat. A was there. I'd already met her. We started talking that day. She asked me if I wanted to go to American Social afterwards and go out. I had no other plans, coming off the boat. So I said, okay, let's go. She was like, okay, my friend Liz is gonna come. We'll pick her up, go to pick her up. The first thing she said is Liz lives in Ybor because she's trying to hide her money from her ex-husband. She's going through a divorce. One of the first things she ever told me, we were at American Social. I met her like an hour before, and she brings it up. She starts talking about like, oh yeah, like I went this thing on TikTok, I went viral, like my ex-husband tries to bash me on TikTok and blah, blah, like you can look it up if you just look up like inventing Elizabeth or whatever it is. She literally told me to do it. Like she set up the situation where if I was to ever come across it myself, would already be on her side. And look, everything about what he says and what she said, like it is so freaking plausible.
Demi said they spent the whole night talking.
She told me that her grandma owned Tampa General Hospital, owned hospitals, that she had a trust fund, that her grandma controls it. I knew it was bullshit. But again, like I said, I didn't care. I knew it was bullshit. But also, like, I figured it's not a scam on me. Maybe she's just trying to validate or something. Again, she told me truths. I mean, she told me she was BPD. And I told her that I was as well BPD and diagnosed with that. Me and her were together. When I say 24 hours, like, for 4 weeks straight, I was with her every single day. There was not a day that I wasn't with her. I think maybe one day where I had like an assignment due and I had to stay home and get the assignment done. But for 4 weeks, I was with her every single day.
From the very beginning, Elizabeth isolated her, using whispers, insinuations, and fabricated conflicts with everybody around them, until Demi started to believe that the only person she could trust was Elizabeth.
She completely created this dependency that I had on her because she pushed every single person out of my life. Every single person through, honestly, I'm still trying to figure it out exactly how she did that and what she did. But I mean, obviously it comes back to drama, playing both sides, telling lies, creating falsities, like all of this stuff. And every single person in my life. I could have met them yesterday with her or have known them for 3 years. Actually, some of the closest people in my life started telling me that like too much was going on with me and they needed space from me. And I did not understand what was happening. I was getting random text messages from people saying like, oh, keep me out of your group chats. And I'm like, I'm not in any group chats. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like actually starting to go crazy, thinking that what is happening? And she kept blaming it on someone else. She had a perfect tool the whole time, which was a girl that did not like me. And so she was playing both sides and fed God knows what to this girl that then went and set off a chain reaction of Demi's the culprit. You can't trust Demi's word. Like completely invalidated my word and my sanity almost. So people wouldn't believe me, wouldn't want to talk to me. And then also created this like atmosphere of me not knowing who to trust and who to tell things to. So I was scared. I was on edge, and she became the only person that I could trust and talk to, and was like my one and true confidant and the person that was going to be there with me. So yeah, completely created this dependency that I had for her and isolated myself from everyone. Like she isolated me from everyone else because of that. And it's like a master manipulator tactic. When you're dealing with her, you literally become delusional and you don't know what's reality from what's not reality. I didn't know who to trust, and I never once thought it was Liz. Like honestly, even still to the end, I never connected the dots with Liz. I kept blaming A. She kept blaming A as well.
And that's when the dynamic shifted. Once Elizabeth had Demi emotionally alone, she also tried to be her source of stability. Demi's in marketing, and Liz had mentioned she was looking to open up an organic shop and needed a marketer.
So that's when, like the first time we're ever having a phone conversation after that first night, she goes, oh, well, I'm opening up this organic shop, by the way. Like I am looking for a marketer. And I told her, I was like, well, I'm a marketer and I definitely know how to open up a restaurant because I was a marketer for a chain bar restaurant when we opened new locations. So I can help, and then we start talking about drama or, gossip stuff. And I go, okay, let's table this conversation about work till tomorrow, but let's sit down this week and let's actually talk about it. And she agreed. She said, okay.
It was ultimately the business pitch that led Demi to all of the answers she needed.
So it was supposed to be an organic shop, something similar. She kept grabbing inspo from LS Organics, a place that they had pre-packaged, like kind of meal preps, meals and smoothies. She also wanted to have organic products, so like organic soaps. It was I will say her idea was a little confusing as to exactly what it was. I mean, and again, I'd never been to LS Organics, so I didn't really fully conceptualize it. And that was another thing she wanted to do, was to go to LS Organics so I could conceptualize it a little bit more. But that was supposed to be the idea, that on one side she had an area for like organic beverages, smoothies and juices, and then prepackaged, like I guess in a fridge or, cool area of ready to go meals in a sense. And then on the other side of the shop would be organic soaps, other organic, she wasn't super specific, but I know she made like organic hygiene products in a sense, organic, just an organic shop like LS Organics and what they do in California. And she was still super vague about it. And I kept trying to get information from her as to where her mindset was with it. Because again, as a marketer and somebody to do that, you can't really do it unless you know what you're selling, the entire, business model, right? So, that's what she said. She wanted to be one side, ready to go, juices and meals. And then on the other side, organic products as well that people could browse and shop. So like a tiny, or not a market. I don't feel like a market's the right word, but an organic shop. I still started thinking, okay, you don't even understand like everything that has to go into this. That seemed odd to me, a little bit odd, especially if you're signing a lease to a location for a shop, but you don't even know the base business model of how you guys are going to operate.
Elizabeth said she had it all figured out. She already found a location and even a financial backer. Her grandmother. In between her busy schedule as a surgeon who owned Tampa General Hospital, she was also bankrolling the entire thing and very anxious to get the whole thing signed, sealed, and delivered, according to Liz.
She kept saying her grandma was calling me. It was like, we're just trying to figure things out. And I did ask to go see the location, and she told me that we can go see it. She just has to get the key to the property from her grandma. But showed enthusiasm, like, we'll go see it tomorrow or this week. I'll get the key from my grandma. I would go now, but again, my grandma has the key, so I have to go get it. My grandma wants to confirm that I did hire somebody or else she was going to pull the plug. So she just kept using that as an excuse. Basically, like she couldn't give me any more information or do the next step until I officialized the fact that I was going to work for her and be her official. She was calling it an executive assistant and marketing manager.
Ah, yes, Liz's infamous grandmother still catching all the strays. Demi was confused by the pressure Grams was putting on because she had been told by Elizabeth several times that she was going to be formally calling Demi to introduce herself and to hear her plans for the business, but hadn't. Still, she and Liz were sending Pinterest inspo boards, business plans, and voice notes back and forth, preparing for all of her grandma's questions when she finally did get around to calling.
Okay, so I'm looking at the business plan. I'm just going to send you a couple voice notes instead of getting on a call. I saw the define, like all of it. And then secondly, the marketing, the research, that's a you thing, right? Question mark. Okay, secondly, there is no startup budget. So we can remove that from there because my budget is however much I want to spend on the project. The EIN/business registration, I have to come up with a name first, so that needs to be the top priority. I already got the food permit. I also did the insurance for it. I spent the evening looking at POS systems. I'm not really sure which one that I want to use, to be honest. I'm going to look a little bit more into it, but tomorrow we need to go to LS Organics for sure.
Demi was also dealing with her own family stuff at the time, so when her response time to Elizabeth's text wasn't immediate, she got to see another side of her that she hadn't yet. Business Elizabeth.
Here's what I've been working on.
1 second, babe. Sorry.
Okay. One thing, Demi, about work is I am not the same as personal. I don't care that you're not doing it right now because this just started today, but 2 hours ago, you said, I'm going to send you something within 30 minutes, and you haven't. And I told my grandmother that. And now she yelled at me. So don't give me a timeline that you're not going to meet. I don't care that it's not 30 minutes. That's not the point. It's that you said 30 minutes and then you don't complete it. So please, from now on, be realistic.
I was actually going to suggest that we have a conversation about this as well. I think we should communicate regarding business on my work phone number.
After all of the stress of this big call-in meeting, her grandma ended up just sending Demi a text when inconveniently every time Demi had a break between classes or a day off, Liz's grandma was in surgery.
Hello, Demi. This is Elizabeth's grandmother. Can we schedule a call tomorrow morning? I'd like to formally offer you the position. I'd also like to discuss with you something that I'd like planned for Elizabeth's med school this weekend on Friday. I don't know any of her friends, but I'd like to have someone plan just a little get-together and then have everyone go out to St. Pete. Do you know which of her friends I could get in contact with to plan this?
Hi, Elizabeth's grandmother. I would love to help. I'm excited about the position. I know it's very late, so let's get on a call tomorrow and plan everything. I can definitely help you with that. What time are you available today for a call?
Oh, I should have said my name. It's Deborah. I have surgery till 5, but I'll try to find time in between.
Sounds good. If you can give me a heads up, that would be great. Good luck in surgery. Nice to meet you, Deborah.
She told me her grandma was going to email me the offer letter and the information. And then her grandma, quote unquote grandma, ended up texting me. And then Liz randomly from her own email sent me a email that was like an offer letter.
The offer letter soon followed, but it wasn't sent by Elizabeth's grandmother, who seemed so adamant on getting the ball rolling ASAP. It was sent by Elizabeth, and it was ultimately what led to Demi backing out of everything.
Offer of employment, marketing director / executive assistant, 9/11/2025. Dear Demi, we are pleased to offer you the position of marketing director / executive assistant. We are excited about the skills and experience you bring and look forward to your contributions to our team. Marketing director / executive assistant. Start date 9/10/2025. Compensation and benefits. Base salary $125,000 per year, paid in accordance with our standard payroll schedule. Optional benefits such as health, dental, vision, 401k, paid time off, etc. We are confident you will make a strong impact in this role. Welcome to the team. We are excited to begin this journey with you. Sincerely, Elizabeth Teckenbrock.
When Demi saw she needed to submit her social security number, her gut feeling was telling her not to, and that she needed to look further into everything herself. Elizabeth had sent her a link to the property earlier, so Demi decided to reach out to the landlord personally.
How did you and Liz's relationship end?
because of the business plan. I called the landlord, the leasing agent of the property she supposedly leased, confirmed with him verbally that it's still 100% available. No one's leased it. I told him how, okay, I was just calling because I told him I was a little bit suspicious of a job offer I received who claimed to have leased that property for an organic shop. And the leasing agent of this property was very confused. He's like, an organic shop. He goes, well, I can tell you right now, like if they are thinking about leasing it, the zoning is, it's zoned for medical, like cannabis dispensary usage, whatever the heck, went on this whole spiel, professional spiel, his commercial real estate profession. And that it was still in fact available. And I reiterated, okay, so have you had anyone contact you? Because I wanted to make sure too, what if she was just telling me yes, maybe she is planning on signing it but hasn't officially signed it yet or something, because who knows, there could still always be that, right? So then I wanted to make sure, okay, well, no one has contacted you in regards to starting an organic shop, or no one by the name of Elizabeth or the last name Teckenbrock. And he said no, he's never heard of that. He hasn't been contacted for the property in that sense at all. Because again, at that point, if you were about to sign a lease, you definitely would know who you're talking to. So he said no. That is the same day her grandma texted me, quote unquote grandma. And I looked up the phone number that her grandma texted me off of. And I still have the record, actually. I can down because I paid for like a bin verified search of it, showing the fact that this number has not been registered to a person. And it said, I don't know the verbiage, but it said the number is associated with ghost numbers, or there was like some weird acronym code of referencing text apps. So it's a fake number. It's a ghost number. And she kept telling me her grandma was going to call me, but then yet her grandma texted me. I did ask her grandma if she wanted to get on a call. Her grandma said that she was going to be in surgery until 5 p.m., which is odd because Liz knew that I go into class on that day and I would be unavailable at 6. So Liz's grandma somehow was completely unavailable the whole time I was available to get on the phone, and then available at the time that I was unavailable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was all a lie. And all Demi really wanted to know was the why. Because she said herself she didn't offer anything to Liz. She hadn't invested money into the business or even really spent money when she was around Elizabeth, period. In fact, it was the other way around. Liz usually footed the bill when they went out on her friend Dwayne's credit card. Once Demi found out everything was a lie, she said she knew she needed to back out. But she also needed to find a way to soften the blow because she had no idea who she was dealing with. She ended up telling Elizabeth she was having second thoughts and didn't want their friendship ruined. As soon as she was no longer entertaining the business facade, Elizabeth's tone shifted, and it became crystal clear that Elizabeth didn't value Demi. She valued control, and once she lost it, she had no use for her.
After she sent that job offer, she asked me to send her over a W-4 for taxes, which makes sense because that's what you do when you hire somebody, especially if it's you're starting a business and you don't have an official HR department. Like, people can supply their own W-4s. It's not unheard of. When I sat down to go do it and fill it out and realized that my social security number had to be on it, that's when I texted her and said how I'm just having reservations about working together. I don't know if it's the best idea for us to be friends and to have a working relationship as well. So I've just been having some reservations about it. Basically, I expressed that to her. She said blatantly, okay, so then say that, so I'm not wasting my time. She started just being very, not enthusiastic, not excited to talk to me, very straight to the point.
Because yesterday you were all for this. So as your friend, I'd like to know. On top of that, I don't mean it in a rude way, but why didn't you say this before it involved my grandma, knowing how strict she is on me?
I just think it's going to be chaotic for me, and I do think it will be a lot with school since it's starting up a whole new business, on top of me being worried about our friendship and how the business or relationship can be affected. You're right, I should have. I hadn't thought about it more, to be honest. I just saw your email. I really wanted to talk to you about my reservations and how I was feeling.
I sent that before. It's okay. All good.
I know. I realized the time. I mean, regardless of that, do you see my perspective on the situation?
Yeah, it's all good, Demi.
I don't want me expressing that to ruin our friendship either, Liz.
Demi, we are good.
Okay. Thank you for understanding.
Communication became less and less. The constant messages and all-day hangouts slowed down. Demi didn't chase it. She embraced it. The space gave her room to breathe, to look back at almost every moment of their friendship and realize that so much of it had been manufactured, and read her words with a different lens, suspicion. One of the last conversations she had with Liz was about drama she was having with her family, and implied the reason they always overstep and get involved in her life was because they had money and weren't afraid to use it. Even if it was just to track down a new guy that she was talking to and thank them for being hospitable to Elizabeth.
I don't know if I'm going out tonight, by the way. I really need to focus in.
You're good. Do what you need to do. I made plans.
If not, I'm going to be so off equilibrium. The only reason why I was out is because I thought it was going to be like the last week of freedom after being offered that position. Turns out things change and I can't keep dicking around. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I get it.
Your grandma was asking to plan a surprise or something for you.
That's why I've stayed in.
But then said you didn't want it.
No, because my friends have something planned tomorrow already.
Oh, makes sense.
She oversteps.
She's cute.
She's too much. My family reached out to Mike.
What?
Who fucking knows how they got his number?
How in the world?
Yeah, I've been arguing with them all day.
Yeah, wait, what? I don't even have Mike's number. Like, huh?
Because they have money and will use it.
That's so odd.
I'm sure they looked it up. I don't know.
What did they say? Oh, yeah, I guess you can do that.
They were nice and just said thank you for making sure I was safe. And if he ever needs a favor, to let them know. Fucking cringe. They always do this shit.
Was this a threat of what her family was capable of? If they tracked down people just to thank them for being a friend, what would they do to people who are no longer friends with Elizabeth? Demi was left with a mountain of questions, which ultimately led her to looking up Elizabeth Teckenbrock and finding us, the e-LIES-abeth podcast. And though she didn't get her answers as to why Elizabeth does what she does, she did find validation and a sense of comfort when she realized she wasn't alone.
But no, yeah, you become delusional when you're dealing with her and when you're with her. So it's nerve-wracking to come out and tell people things. So when you hear other people's stories about it, like on the podcast, I'm sure that kind of set off a chain of events of a lot of people actually realizing, okay, I'm not delusional. What I went through and what I suspected and what I thought was going on is real, and everything she was doing to you is not real. But I started questioning, okay, I didn't really tell her like who I was, things about me until like after that, I guess you could say bond or like dependency was already there. So she didn't really know. So I started thinking, what the hell? Yeah, what was her motive?
Demi didn't lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. She didn't lose her savings. She didn't lose her home. But what she almost lost was her reality. In only 4 weeks. 4 weeks was all they knew each other for. And Elizabeth had Demi questioning everything and everyone. And this is the key to understanding Elizabeth's pattern. She doesn't just scam money. She rearranges your world until you forget who you were before she arrived. And Demi's story doesn't stand alone. It's just the latest chapter. To understand how we got here, how we got to the constant reinventions, the fake business, the impersonated relatives, the emotional dependency, the psychological isolation, we have to go back to where it started. Since season 1 ended, we weren't the only ones watching all of this unfold. As her new victims came forward, the ripple effects of her lies were still being felt by those she'd already hurt. Victims who've carried their pain quietly until now, finally ready to speak out after watching her repeat the same patterns again and again. All the questions from last season will be answered and even more will surface, because what Elizabeth has done isn't just a series of bad decisions or online drama. It's a calculated pattern of predatory behavior that's harmed dozens of people emotionally, financially, and psychologically. And altogether, these voices are determined to make sure she's stopped once and for all. This season on e-LIES-abeth.
It's just awful what she's done. Doing all the fake texts, pretending that this was an attorney. Oh, the money's coming, using some sort of app to, make her voice different.
I sold my Rolex to give her money, so.
She made jokes and comments in the sense of, like, I know how to get men to spend money on me and be my sugar, kind of like it was her expertise in a sense.
I thought I was helping her out so she could get some food while she was in the hospital and that kind of stuff. Lo and behold, over 2 days, she ran up like $19,000. Now I'm to the point where I'm about to lose my house and to be out on the streets.
She's always been a liar. She can make you believe anything that she wants you to believe. She's good at it.
She like begged me to ask my ex for $10,000, and I did.
I just hope that karma comes back to her and that she gets what she deserves.
I've been absolutely destroyed. I don't know how I'm gonna make it, honestly.